So hello everyone. So we have started to have our guests. So we would like to thank you all for being with us today and attending our seventh session of Turner Lean webinar series. So we hope that all of you, your loved ones, and your family are staying healthy and safe. I am Ilayda, a civil engineer, and have been working with Turner for over 5 years now. As most of you know, we have started these webinar series to share our knowledge, experience on lean practices, and as well as hear from other companies and industries. We will try to continue to have guests every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Istanbul time. But this week, we are also excited as well, since we have the pleasure to introduce you to our lean group from United States, who also helped us through our lean construction learning journey here in Turkey. So let me introduce you the team. We have today Michael Scott. As regional lean manager, he transferred to Philadelphia business unit from Turner International, where he fostered a lean culture through hands-on problem solving on our projects through international. He teaches lean fundamentals and principles, coaches and mentors others on thinking differently and challenging the status quo. We have Patrick Hans. In his current role as regional lean manager, Patrick leads and supports efforts focused on enhancing client value by cultivating a learning environment, facilitating continuous improvement processes, and maximizing team collaboration throughout the Mid-Atlantic region. We have Rosen. He is the lean manager for Philadelphia and New Jersey since 2019. He is helping teams over there solving their problems and implementing lean tools to facilitate successful project delivery. And then Michael Grus. So as a lean coordinator, he has been working with the Pittsburgh business unit, focusing on improved learning and continuous improvement. He grows the lean culture over there to support lean and the loss planner system on all jobs and departments. So after their presentations, we will have a Q&A session. You are all welcome to submit during the presentation or after the presentations. Next week, our guest will be Erol Yakut from Lean Institute Turkey and Serdar Göktekin from Göktekin Construction. They will share their experience, case studies that they have experienced in construction sector in Turkey. And one last reminder, you can watch the previous sessions on YouTube Turner International channel. So finally, I will leave the stage to our guest. Thank you.
Thanks, Elida. This is Michael Scott. Appreciate the introductions there. It kind of saved us from having to introduce ourselves, so that was very kind of you. We appreciate that. Michael, can you back up just a second? We need to do our safety moment. One of the traditions that we have in Turner is putting safety above all else, right? And we always start off every meeting with a safety moment. The key is, really to foster a culture of continuously thinking about, am I safe? Are the people around me safe? And that's really what we want to look at. So what we'd like everybody to do is just take a minute, and it looks like we lost our screen there. So I'll keep talking while it's coming back online. There it is. Just take a moment, look at your surroundings, make sure that, you know where your exits are at. If you're inside of an office building, make sure that you've got two ways of exiting the room. And then also, if you're at home, make sure you have a positive exit plan for your family as well. So I know right now we have about 60 people on the call, and you're taking time out of the end of your day and the beginning of our day. It's just 8 a.m. here in the United States where we're at, and you're just wrapping up. So you're tired and want to probably head home if you're still working, but we do appreciate you taking some time to spend with us. So with that, as Elida said, right, she already introduced us, but I'll just a quick note on myself. I've been in the industry over 30 years. I've been with Turner only about 6.5 years. So I've been able to, kind of work in multiple countries around the world, and Turkey being one of those countries, of course. So it's always good to see different cultures and different mindsets and the way that people see and address their work. And every place is a little bit different, but they're also the same. And we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of this call about, you know, some of the cultural differences. And let's go over our agenda real quick. One more, there we go. Okay, so here's our agenda. We're gonna walk through a few things. We're gonna talk about kind of what the current condition of, you know, the state of lean in the United States is, how we perceive it as lean professionals, and, you know, some of the things that we focus on. How lean can help is another big section, and this is, you know, how we get alignment and work on things together as a team. How do we engage our trade partners? How do we get at coaching mindsets? What's next, right? What's on the horizon for us? And then we'll talk a little bit about the culture and the Q&A. So with that, we'll go ahead and move forward, and I'm gonna hand it off to Rosen.
Hey, everybody. So, you know, right now I'm gonna go over our current condition, right? Most of our teams are made up of staff members that are in different parts of, or different, you know, stages of their lean journey. As you see down there, bottom left, the rowboat with the green, yellow, and red, those kind of represent the different people within and their stages of lean and where they are in their journey. The greens are kind of pushing forward, leading the way for the others. They aren't necessarily always the leaders of the project, but they are the ones who are really pushing lean and trying the new things that are being presented to them, you know, and moving forward. So the yellows, or the yellow people in the boat, or the people that are kind of like in the middle of their journey, not too sure whether they want to be lean or keep with our old practices. They're more of like the onlookers, but they might dabble in lean a little bit. And then you have the red people on the boat, or the people who are what we call blockers, who are usually preventing us from moving forward. And sometimes they could even be the people that are leading the project or at a high level. So that's kind of where we stand. I'll go in a minute to show you the percentages kind of where teams are at. But we're finding problems are still not being identified early enough. Most teams are looking to push their problem solving abilities to the point where they catch them earlier, and they're not being, you know, what we call in lean as celebrated, right? When they see a problem, they're not necessarily embracing it and trying to use the A3 problem solving or lean problem solving to solve those problems. And just, you know, in general, the more experienced staff or the leaders, a lot of times we're finding they're just satisfied with the current way of doing things. And you kind of, you know, see this icon or this picture at the bottom right, you know, where you got the square wheels, and it seems to work okay, but those round wheels, if only they tried them, would work that much better. But it takes work to take those square wheels off and put the round ones on. So, you know, if you look here to the top right, I put together a pie chart that kind of shows the percentages of where we're at with the different project teams and they're practicing lean, right? You can kind of see how the majority have just some lean practices. And if you look to that top part of the pie chart, the fully lean projects, it's actually not as big of the pie as we would like. You do have a good portion of those jobs that are doing mostly lean, you know, a lot of lean practices, but you can also see that there's, you know, a decent percentage of that pie chart where the projects are not practicing lean at all. You know, we find that teams tend to also start to fall back to their old ways when large problems arise, and that's troublesome too. And what we do, and you know, to kind of to identify that, is use the assessment tool that you see down below. We have several different types of assessment tools we use, but this one in particular is used for ourselves in the lean department, as well as our general managers and operational managers, to assess where each team is at, and then we monitor that on a month-by-month basis to see if we're moving forward or moving backwards. And you can see from the colors there, we try and use visual management to get an overall picture of where we stand within the business unit.
Thank you, Russ, and thank you everyone for having me. I'm Patrick Hands out of the DC area, and our current lean manager for that area. But I think we like to start with why lean. And I think a lot of companies that start in lean, when kind of was started in manufacturing, but it's really spread to a lot of different industries. And a lot of those industries, have this companies have these burning platform scenarios where they have to change to be successful. And I think as Turner, that's one of our struggles is, we have been successful for over 100 years, kind of doing it the way we've been doing it. Why change? But this chart up here just shows kind of the productivity per hour worked for the different industries. And this is US, but it shows some other industries like manufacturing, agriculture, transportation that, have made use of technology. They're finding better ways to work, more productive ways to work. And then you have the bottom red line, which is construction. And, we look as an industry, despite some of the technology that we're currently leveraging, we're still swinging the hammer the same way a lot of times. So as an industry, we think this is, really one of those next stepping stones of really, taking off in construction. A couple other stats to the right, a couple studies have been done just looking at particular projects. 30% of the work that we put in place actually rework. We're taking it out, we're putting it in again, or sometimes even a third time. Time studies on our projects, 50% of the time we're not putting work in place, that unproductive time. And then just from a lean and green, an environmental and sustainability aspect, just the amount of material that we generally waste on our projects. So, as an industry, we're ripe for change, and that's how we're trying to, incorporate lean into how we build. So, one of the key things of lean that we're kind of changing our mindset of, it's, trying to get that team alignment. We're trying to optimize the whole. And that's that boat to the right. Everyone's, hopefully paddling the same direction, the same speed. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Where a lot of times, the picture on the left indicates kind of how we currently have been operating, where, we are celebrating that point speed. Everyone is out for themselves. I can speak when I was a superintendent, the trades that were getting their work in the fastest were my favorite. And we'd celebrate some of that work going in faster than anyone else, where when you take a look from a lean perspective, sometimes that's not the best for the entire team, and that, optimize the whole. A couple just positive impacts, what we've seen on our projects, why we're doing lean. Obviously, better project outcomes when you start looking at the cost, quality, schedule, safety, projects that are really embracing lean, we find that generally have better outcomes. We have an analogy of smoother landings. We have some projects that we compare it to airplanes landing. How rough was the landing when we were actually trying to finish? And, some of them can be a pretty bumpy ride at that end. So we find that projects that are doing lean just generally smoother throughout the entire project. Engagement of our workplace, that's everywhere from our Turner employees, the trade partners we work with, the architects, engineers, and on the client side. It's really bringing that whole team together in a collaborative approach. Find that lean does really expedites developing our people, increases that collaboration, and it helps us drive improvement throughout every aspect of our business. So not a whole lot to argue against when we say, why implement lean? But yeah, just some of the things that we've seen as successes in. So just wanted to highlight our Turner's definition of lean real quick. And so what we're really trying to do is we're trying to maximize the value that we deliver to customers. And we do that through kind of two pillars: eliminating waste in our processes and always driving improvement in those processes. And embracing that respect for people. There's a lot to unpack there. But we'll, in the next couple of slides, kind of divvy it up a little bit. Also, I went to a lean training, and this was something that there's someone from, there's representations from all different industries: healthcare, education, manufacturing, construction, tech startups. And they broke it down into an interesting way. They said, lean is a human-centered philosophy of work. It's making that workplace more humane. And it results in, Michael, if you want to hit the next couple, it results in, that better value for our customers. It creates that culture of collaboration, curiosity. And we always say lean's not just about the tools, and it's so easy to get kind of wrapped around just focusing on the tools, but those tools are really just there to help us practice that lean thinking and those lean principles and actually implement them. So it's a quick important note, not just to get wrapped up around some of the tools that we use. And then so this is Turner's kind of house of lean. This is kind of packing up those definitions and putting it into this visual. Toyota had a house of lean. This is Turner's house of lean. You can see at its fundamental, it's that we call it plan, do, check, adjust. It's our way of improving and kind of running small experiments. We have the lean principles across the bottom of the foundation of the house. Those are the same for every industry. We have those 2 pillars, continuous improvement, respect for people. We have some of the tools that we use. I like how Toyota said it. The tools they used were really just countermeasures for problems that they saw in their manufacturing. So these are tools that we're using to counteract some of those problems that we see on general construction sites. And the end goal is just maximizing that customer value. Quick highlight of our lean journey. It's fun because you hear Toyota say they're still pretty early on in their lean journey. And I think every book you pick up about lean, I think 80%, 90% are about Toyota. So it's very humbling. But wanted to highlight a couple key things in Turner's lean journey. We were brought into lean with actually one of our clients. They were in the healthcare sector, and we were, bidding the job, and they said, "What are you doing for lean construction?" And we said, "What do you mean?" So they really brought us into the journey back in 2004. And we really started seeing some of the benefits of it on just, that particular project, to the point where in 2010, we said, let's start making, a national lean team to drive some of this throughout our business. Fast forward to 2015, we actually put more staff in place. We created what we call the regional lean program, or regional lean manager program, where we tried to divvy up the United States and say, how do we get coverage, more penetration in, throughout the United States in all of our different business units. And I think just over the past 5 years, we've seen that really accelerate even further, where we went from 12 people back in 2015, and now we have over 50 people currently working full-time lean change agents, driving continuous improvement in select projects. That's kind of a quick highlight of our lean journey. Another thing, every year Turner outlines our company strategy, and we have these things called our paths to success. And it's how we see us, actually achieving our vision. And I think the exciting thing is that lean, I think, was introduced in 2015 or 16, and it stayed there. I think it's not a flavor of the month, or it's not something that we just tried out and, we moved on to the next best thing. It's something that we're really trying to bring into the core of our business, into our culture of our business. And we have some of the other paths to success: full engagement with our entire teams, right environment, lean culture, active caring. And there's so many overlaps of those, but I think, that lean culture really embraces all of those different pieces that we're trying to do to deliver projects for our clients and deliver that value. So here's kind of the map of how we've split up the United States. And to the left, you'll see kind of those regional lean managers that are covering those particular regions. Today, we're over in the East Coast with Michael, Ross, and Michael and I, covering that Pennsylvania, Jersey, DC area, Mid-Atlantic. But I think, that story is, we really wanted to accelerate that change, and our company's making a large commitment of just putting full-time resources in place to further drive that change. So like I said, we've gone from just 12 people in 2015 to over 50 in 2021. And I think when we started our lean journey, it started really, our strategy was just getting up to speed, really understanding what it is, how it applies to construction. I remember when I was a superintendent, I heard the word lean and I was like, it's something to do with sticky notes. That's about all I know. They put sticky notes everywhere they go. But the curiosity of just what really are we trying to do? So we're taking kind of tackling it from two angles. At the very top with our leadership and executive leadership team, some training of just, what lean is. This is for one of the first times something that kind of a foreign concept to some of our basic construction. It's, how does it apply to construction? We're not Toyota. We don't have assembly lines. So on the left, couple of things that we've just done to do that, to accelerate that learning. We've actually partnered up with a group called the Lean Enterprise Institute, who is helping coaching our leadership. We've sent people to Toyota in Japan. There's a furniture company, Herman Miller, who has embraced lean that we partner up with on other projects. We've done, go and see to their workshops and to their manufacturing lines. We've done full officer training. Any officer of our company, we've sent them to 2-day trainings. And it's not just our construction folks. We also have, our finance team and our IS information systems team is embracing their own lean journey. So we've taken that approach to just kind of step one, let's educate us a little bit better of what lean is and how it can apply to construction. Then at the projects, we have pre-COVID, we had a monthly training where we bring people together from all around, the country. And that's some of the pictures on the right that you'll see of just practicing lean, learning a little bit more. We do a whole lot more just to help our projects get up to speed on lean and some of the lean tools that we can implement on our projects as we're launching those projects. Another thing that a highlight of the last 5 years is we have a go and see program. And these are kind of the best in class projects. And it's one thing to, learn lean in a classroom setting. It's another thing to go see lean, see a project team embracing it and go live it. Michael, if you want to hit the next one. So, there's some go and see projects that, one of the roles or job descriptions of the RLM role is we have to go validate these projects that get nominated. And it's really been a great success just transforming or accelerating our transformation because it's, like I said, it's out of the classroom and we're seeing it real time. We're seeing the value that lean's bringing to these project teams. And they're all around the country. Another investment that we're making is, sending our project teams that are just launching their project to these go and sees to help them learn, help them, embrace this is what we want to do on our project when we get back home. And obviously with COVID, we've limited some of that traveling, but we didn't want to limit the learning. So 2020, we started putting together virtual go and see projects where teams were highlighting, different aspects of their project, short videos that anyone can click on. For the Turner people on the phone, it's on our TKN website on our lean page, but there's a lot of information there, some great content just to help us kind of further our understanding of what teams are doing to implement lean on their projects. With that, turn it over to Michael Grus.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Like Pat said, there's a lot of aspects of project level engagement on specifically the go and sees, but also projects in general. We touch back on the pie chart that Ross showed. And a big piece of it was there was some aspects of lean being done. And one of the biggest pieces that we see is odds and ends from the lean system or the lean house that we have that are implemented specifically on some projects as they get familiar with the principles, the tools, and the understanding. So where do those understandings come from? When we kick off projects, usually we'll do a joint, what we call a lean boot camp in conjunction with our safety team. So the building life training for the trade partners will be coupled with a lean boot camp as they come on board to set the stage to see what's going to be implemented on this project. So that's one aspect of it. The second piece here is we have what we created is a building life and lean pocket guide. So there is a lot of information that we throw at our trade partners as they come on board. So for trades that have not been a part of a Turner project before, it might be a little shocking, all the information. So the pictures down at the bottom, the little pocket guide that you have here, it just is a quick hit reference of all the information from the building life safety culture, as well as the lean culture that we're trying to implement on Turner projects. So getting more into the operations or the field side of things, we've started to implement a lot of the trade engagement with the actual foreman doing the work. So one of the easiest aspects of lean is 5S. So a lot of times it's simply just thinking that lean is cleaning up, or 5S is cleaning up, but it's really combining the different aspects of visual management and the 5S tools that we have. So in the top right picture, we have an example of a 5S foreman walk. So we're engaging with our trade partners to identify materials throughout our job sites that are not needed, that can be sorted out or taken off of the site. So we want to have a 5S site, so our sort, straighten, shine, standardize, and sustain. We want to do this on a cadence. As we engage with our trade partners, it becomes easier and easier, making it a part of the weekly routine that we do have. So the more involved we get into the lean system, into the lean framework, we want to engage with the trade partners as much as possible. So we can't solve problems. We can't build buildings in an office. We have to go engage with the trade partners and go where the work is happening. So across the page, you have a number of different examples of different projects throughout our regions, both COVID times and pre-COVID, just a disclaimer there. But we're doing everything that we can to engage on a project level. So our top left, we're doing a pool plan. Like Pat said, we're putting sticky notes everywhere. We're talking through our weekly work plans and our phasing plans in the top right picture. Down on the bottom right, we have daily huddles. So we're going out as part of our initiatives this past year. We wanted to engage with our trade partners for the first hour of the day. Go to the daily huddles, go to the PTPs, and walk the job so that we're seeing the work that's being done and we're getting eyes on the problems or whatever might arise in the field. Another piece of this is taking some time to appreciate our trades and educate them. The middle picture on the bottom is actually from our safety week that we did, including our trade partners talking about the aspects of Turner. Outside of everything of building buildings in the lean construction, we want to make sure that we can focus on the safety of our trade partners and of our employees as well. So there's multiple facets of the involvement that we have in the US for trade engagement. All of them target a different piece of what we're trying to achieve with not only lean, but being better builders. So the next piece of the engagement that we're able to target is down to more data-driven and improvement-driven aspects. So there's two really great examples of engagement that we have. The top one, which is this Excel sheet, is what we've put together is a production tracker. So it's a monitoring tool to provide detailed insight into work that's actually being installed. So instead of having general ideas of when work is being completed, we have actual data to follow the production rates of our trade partners. So this is not a tool to be used in order to hold disciplinary aspects on trades, but it gives us better aspects and insight into the production on our projects. So we're taking a proactive approach to maybe a trade partner that is not performing as per their contract rates, whatever it might be. But we're able to preemptively see what's going on our project by monitoring the planned install per our plan, per our production plan, and tracking what's actually being installed. So a lot of great information here that we're inputting with our teams and our trade partners, which is definitely taking off in terms of adaptation. So the second part here is our rapid improvement events. So these are focused in the field examples with our trade partners. We're engaging in terms of identifying a problem and working with our trade partners to fix the problem, but not just put a Band-Aid on the problem, but to permanently fix the problem at hand. So across the bottom, we have 4 pictures of an example from our Boston business unit up in Massachusetts. So they were working on a problem of congestion of their trash system and trash removal from the building. So they were having a lot of congestion on this ramp with the carts that they had to move, and then they had to dump it in the third picture there. So there was some focused improvements of pooling the trades together and saying, let's put our heads together and think about how we can better solve this problem. So there's different types of flow patterns that they were considering, different types of carts, timing of the carts, the number of people moving the carts, all of the different aspects that could help get the trash out of the building as fast as possible were considered. But what's important to mention here is this was not done in isolation by Turner, and it was not a problem that they came up with a solution and told the trade partners this was the answer. They did it in conjunction with the trade partners saying, let's put our heads together and solve this so that we have an overall better functioning business as well as just operations on the site. The last piece here again is we want to tie everything we do back to safety. So having the carts being less weight each time, that's respect for our people, and it's safer to move it overall. So again, tying each aspect of what I just talked about to not only lean, but safety are huge aspects of what we're trying to achieve with our trade engagement in the US. I'll turn it over to Michael.
We had a question in the Q&A section of how do we entice our trade partners to engage. So hopefully what Michael just explained with those rapid improvement events kind of shows how we get engagement. But one of the things that we find by using some of the tools that we just showed on that last slide, the rate of production monitoring tool that we have, being able to actually show them where they're spending their money, right? What they're spending their money on, because people cost money, right? Equipment costs money, and every day that those things are on the job is expensive. So the more efficient we can become in our production, the less money the trade partners actually spend, right? So that's how it kind of shows the importance to the trade partners, why they should implement lean as well, because that's where the real value is at, right? They make more money at the end of the day. So by doing these exercises together as a team, as Michael described, it allows us to get their buy-in much sooner, because they see, hey, look, I'm going to be much more profitable if I approach work in a much more structured manner of identifying and removing waste in everything that I do. So with that, right, one of the things that we have to realize when we're trying to coach and mentor our trade partners, the first thing that we as Turner have to realize is that, we're really not the experts, right? The people doing the work, meaning our trade partners, the subcontractors, the contractors, they're the ones that are the experts. The mindset has really shifted over the years. Used to, the person in charge was very domineering and, forceful and, cracking the whip, as we say, to where we're just pushing people to drive. And what we found is that's not nearly as productive as bringing people in and letting them have a voice, let them have a seat at the table to really work on things together, right? So that's the first thing we need to understand, is that we need to talk to the people that actually do the work and give them authority to make decisions so that we can actually be more efficient. The second thing is that we really can't implement lean on our own, right? We have to do it collaboratively. You can only go so far if you're in a silo. And the best way to do it is collectively as a group. And like Ross showed it early on with that rowboat with the different colored people on the boat, every team is going to be made up of different colored team members, right? Whether you're red, yellow, or green, as that picture depicted. You're going to have the people that are kind of stuck with the way that they've always done things. They're very resistant to change. We tend to kind of call them the caveman type people, because they like their square wheel and they just really don't want to change. And we're trying to break that cycle down to where they can see the benefits through other people's efforts as well, right? Because when you're doing it collectively, a spirit of competition grows at the same time. You see one person becoming successful, you want that same success. So you start trying some of the experiments that they're doing as well. So you can get that buy-in in a collaborative manner much better than the old traditional way. And the third part is, being a lifelong learner, always continually trying to learn something new, experimenting, getting away from what we call the status quo, right? The way things always were is the way they will always be. We don't want that mindset anymore. So we want to continuously learn so that we can improve upon every business aspect that we have, right? Whether it's in our offices, out in the field, any support mechanism, every element, every department of our business can and must be improved to make sure that we're being as efficient as possible. One of the other things that we do is we seek outside coaching, right? Pat had mentioned about this earlier, where we team up with different organizations. The two of the main ones that we work with are Lean Enterprise Institute and Lean Construction Institute. We do a lot of code training with them every year. We have them do direct coaching for us and our senior leaders. As Pat mentioned, we send people to Japan and take week-long deep dives into learning how to actually think differently. And that's really the challenge, right? Is breaking your own mold so that you can actually think differently to teach others differently. And it's that mindset shift of getting away from telling people what to do and switching it to helping people understand how to do it themselves, right? And that's where that next part of that lifelong learning comes into play, is giving yourself the skill set and the ability to actually do things. So we do things like study action teams, where you may see a problem that you're facing and not really knowing exactly how to address it. So we'll actually study it. And we actually study books as well, right? We'll read the books and kind of see how we can apply some of the learnings in those books in the circumstance that we're in. Leaning forward groups, right? Where this is basically a group of like-minded people that kind of get together on a regular basis to kind of learn something new as a team, right? Here in our region, we have every month we have a leaning forward call. Similar to what we're doing right now with this webinar, where we present a topic and then we discuss it, and people can learn from it. And typically there's follow-on discussion afterwards where people try to implement it in other regions. So there's a lot of opportunity there for continuous learning. And then community of practices. We have one here, and it's called the LCI Community of Practice for the Mid-Atlantic Group, where we work with the Lean Construction Institute. They're the main sponsor, and then there's a group of us that are part of a core team that help facilitate monthly dialogue with like-minded people in the industry, right? It's not just our company, it's people outside of our company, where we have a lot of engagement. We do a lot of lean coffees and really look at what we can learn from each other, best practices, things like that. And it's really engaging, and you can see what other people are doing, right? And it opens up your circle of influence to allow you to understand more things. With that, we have a 5-year strategy, right? This is our 5-year vision. It's kind of broken up into 4 different quadrants, and this helps us keep that focus on our coaching mindset. And the first part is up in the upper left, coaching for problem solving. And what we find is that especially more experienced people, they tend to just react to situations, and they don't do actual scientific problem solving, and they're going off of their experience alone. It's like, I've done this before, I can do this way again and it'll give me the same result. That doesn't necessarily always work, right? And also, it doesn't allow people to learn. It stifles learning and creativity. You can find some really great things if you just give people the opportunity. So we really have to coach problem solving on multiple levels, whether that's a very basic thing of asking what's called the 5 whys, right? Why did this happen? Well, that happened because of this. Well, why did that happen? Well, because it happened because of this, right? And just driving down to trying to find out what the root cause is. Or something a little bit more complex, like fishbone diagramming, where you look at all the resources, the people, the influences, the environment, all those things, and kind of break them out separately to understand what's going on. Or up to and including, deeper dives on what's called A3 problem solving, which, those are kind of for your really big problems that are hard to digest. So that's what we're focusing on from the coaching for problem solving point of view. Over on the upper right, stabilize. This is really about creating standards, right? And making sure that it's the way that we do our work, right? And it's sustainable, and that we're being able to measure ourselves based off of that standard, right? Because if it's not measurable, then it's very difficult to, apologies, got my phone's doing weird things here. It's very difficult to actually measure ourselves, okay? Improve, that next section down on the bottom left, this is continuous improvement, always looking at where we're at, never being satisfied with the results as, okay, that's the best we can do. We can always do better, right? So we always want to continuously improve. And then the last part, innovate. That's where we're looking at the new things that are happening in the industry, things that are different and new to us, okay? And with that, we've got a plan for 2021, which kind of focuses on 3 of those areas, right? So for our region and our coaching for problem solving, we're really diving down into basic problem solving. We're taking a deeper dive in focusing on our Gemba-based learning, right? Gemba meaning where the work is being done, right, out in the field on the jobs, and understanding what's happening out there. And stabilize, we're getting alignment, making sure that everyone's understanding where we're going with things, leveraging the technology that we have out there, and being able to use it as efficiently as possible, things like that. And then in improve, advancing our groups, such as the study action teams, and staying committed to that leaning forward group that we talked about.
So, where's Turner, the industry, everybody, where's everybody going in a lean, manner as far as contracts and project delivery? You see here, integrated project delivery, or IPD. This is a roadmap of how to kind of how an IPD, comes together, right? You have a mission statement, you have contractual obligations to work as a team. That means all the subcontract or most of the core subcontractors, as well as the architect and Turner, everybody having a contract that they actually have to work together and share in the risk and share in the reward. You have the design assist subcontractors. So those subcontractors that you onboard early on and have a contract with, they have a stake, in the early parts of the project, as well as, to finish it and actually build it. We then design to the target value. So everybody, including those subcontractors who are going to then build the work, help in the design. Of course, then we use the last planner system to schedule the project and to manage the project, including your OAC constraint log, which everybody is actively, looking to relieve the project of constraints. And then as much prefabrication as possible, utilizing the pre-planning and lean principles. And then, of course, incentive programs. So there's incentive by all parties, not just maybe the general contractor or the architect, but those entities, as well as the core group of subcontractors that make up the bulk of the work. Everybody has an incentive for the project to have success, to come in with a better schedule and under budget, because there's incentives to the whole group. And then there's also target value design, which not always necessarily is as integrated as the IPD that I just talked about, but target value design allows Turner to get involved earlier in the process, and we can help the architect and engineer in the design to ensure that the client's best interest in terms of constructability and overall quality can be achieved by the general contractor, being Turner, to help the architect and engineer design something that is most efficient to be built, not just aesthetically pleasing, but also buildable in the most efficient manner. And the client gets a better understanding of what the costs are going to be, because with Turner engaged early on, we can help them understand what that design that they would typically get earlier by just an architect engineer firm without a cost. We can help them determine what that design actually costs earlier in the process. And with that, we're going to open it up to Q&A.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was on mute. So I think we've got some questions in the chat, and we'll hit those here in a second. But I wanted to kind of pose a question, right? We work all around the world, and we're here in the U.S. Of course, the listeners on this call are in Turkey, but we also, work through multiple regions, as you can see on this map. And cultural differences do influence the way that we have to behave, right, to affect change and the way of thinking. So we have to look at in the context of how do we localize the thought process. And if we go through some of these questions, we'll kind of look at that a little bit. So I'll look at one here. Most companies turn to home office working styles due to COVID. This may have adversely affected the adoption of a corporate and lean culture among employees. In a post-COVID period, what kind of difficulties do you suppose that large companies will encounter in adopting their corporate and lean culture with their employees while working from home office? My response to that, and I'll let everybody else kind of chime on this too, but my response would be is that it's actually done the exact opposite. It's actually allowed us to become much more agile in our approach. And, me personally, my time is much more effectively used during the day versus having to drive to a job site, right? So if you look at our region, some of our projects are a 7-hour car ride away. Most of them are within an hour to 2 hours, but there's some that are pretty far out there, right? So that's not a very good effective use of my time. But doing a lot of things virtually, it allows us to go from one meeting right into the next. And what I find is they're actually overloaded a lot of times with back-to-back meetings all day long. But it's allowed us to innovate in the way that we actually approach the work. Now, we still have to have the hands-on, go and see out on the job approach. Like Ross is sitting at one of our job sites right now where he's got some meetings there today where we're going to be doing some pole planning. So we still have that ability to actually, be where the work's at, but also be remote to allow us to adopt things in a different manner. And we've seen a lot of really good traction with people wanting to invest more time into deliberate sessions, right? So we can actually capture their attention and really solve problems that they're facing, whether it be due to the current working conditions because of COVID or whatever the case is, or just daily struggles that we're having. So we're seeing a lot of success in that manner. So hopefully that answers the question. Anyone else want to chime in on that?
I'll only add that I think it's accelerated our kind of 5-year vision. We realized that, maybe our 5-year vision isn't going to take 5 years. Our company, I always compared it to some of the large, barge that we're trying to nudge in the different direction. I think the past year with COVID showed how, I think Peter used the word nimble, how nimble we can be. And COVID was one of the biggest problems that we were, trying to tackle. So we started, relying on some of these lean principles and that, fact-based problem solving to really position ourselves better for, remaining operational through the pandemic.
Another question we had, could you please touch on discussing the main concept differences between lean, agile, hybrid, Kanban, Scrum? So anybody want to take a quick stab on this? I can give an answer, but I don't want to take up all the time with me talking. All right, I'll give it a shot. So for us, right, we talk about agile or whether it's Six Sigma. There's all kinds of different types of philosophies out there, but really they all kind of marry back together on efficiency, and that's how they're all tied together, right? We're trying to become more efficient. In the lean mindset, what we're trying to do is, identify and remove waste as much as possible, as vigorously as possible. Kanban is a visual management type tool where you're actually visualizing some of the work that you're doing. Agile is really that fast, rapid paced improvement process, kind of like we talked about with the rapid improvement events where you're actually looking at the work and quickly going through. So there's a lot of similarities in the way they are. It's just different industries call it different things, but it really boils down to that one word, which is efficiency. Next question. Do you think lean project management will be contractual issue requested by the client? We hope so. We hope that it's something that becomes contractual, right? And we're pushing it. We do have some basic language that we put into our subcontract agreements to help tie in with that. But that would be kind of the perfect world where it's no longer something that you can try it if you like, but we don't really care. We would like it to be something to where it's not necessarily mandated contractually, but it's the way all work is done, right? That all organizations that we work with understand that because we're on this lean journey, they want to work with us. And we see that quite often where they'll actually give us better pricing because they know that Turner's going to be more efficient for them. They're not going to have to fight the schedule as much, right? Because they know that when we say, hey, your dates are good, you can go, they don't have to replan their work. And that's a huge benefit to trade partners. Anyone else want to chime in on that one?
I think you covered it.
Okay. Lost my track on here. In US, how Turner is choosing subcontractors. Ross, you want to go through this one?
Yeah, absolutely. So I spent 2 years in the procurement department, so I can just recently, so I can give a good insight into this. We start out with a thorough pre-qualification process where we vet out our subcontractors. Once we've gotten a group of subcontractors in any one discipline or work type, we go out to bid and we treat all the bidders as though they are equal. Okay, and what I mean by that is we make sure we level each of them out. We make sure they all have the same exact scope, so they understand the work exactly the same. They've already been pre-qualified, so any one of them now should be able to, whoever wins, whoever gets the lowest price should be more than capable of doing the work. So we vet them out. We give them all the bid documents. We level them out. We give them usually what's called a supplement, which is where we identify some things that maybe were unclear, and we clear those up, and then we go back out with that information, and we level the subs again, and that might happen 2 or 3 times, that process. And from there, we make sure everyone's level. We ask them then to give us a best and final price. That best and final price is then who gets selected. So if there's a $100 difference on a $10 million contract between 2 subcontractors, because we've pre-qualified them and because we've vetted out and we only go out to bid to the subs who we know can do the work, that subcontractor who has the lowest price will then get the work. So I hope that explanation kind of gives you a decent understanding of how we do it.
All right, another question. I'm going to pass this on to Michael. Processing all the data to the Excel sheet is really time-consuming work. Sometimes people are frustrated in keeping those data coming from lean practice. How do you handle data processing?
Yeah, so kind of 2 prongs here. One, I would just say in a general aspect, if what you're recording is not useful information, you shouldn't be recording it unless it's required. For a lot of things, we record data just to record data, and then it's not used. So in terms of the lean mindset, we want to make sure that what we're actually recording is being turned into something useful. In terms of the production monitor that I showed for the trade engagement, it is really just information that they have already. So with daily construction logs, that information, the planned install, the actual install, and the crew size is all aspects of the DCRs that should be recorded anyway. That's now just a conversation and touch point with our superintendents or our engineers. Hey, what did you guys get done today? Okay, great. And then it's a 2-minute quick input into the Excel file that's updated every day. What needs to be made clear about that, it's not a forecasting tool and it's not a historical log. It's something that's updated every day. And we wanted to make sure that it was something super easy, super simple to combat the very question that you had. People don't like Excel spreadsheets. And for that reason, we wanted to make sure it was as simple as possible.
All right, and a question for Pat. How is the upper management engagement in lean practices, both on site and in the office?
I think even at our executive leadership team, we've done the Gemba-based learning with them, where Peter Davern and the ELT have been going to jobs and really just understanding work and how we improve that work and engaging more with the trades. And also, so that's our push is go out to the Gemba. Let's go engage, that frontline worker to see how we can get better. And, we found that if we're engaging our trades and they win, Turner's going to win too. And also just the coaching mindset, trying to change the behavior into, less of the I'm the problem solver into let's engage the people that are doing the work to coach them through a problem.
All right. And Pat, maybe you and I can both field this one. I'll take the second half, you take the first half. First half of the question, how the lean culture has been adopted by all parties from the client to subcontractors to apply to the project. And then the second part of the question is how hard or easy to spread out the same culture throughout the globe, especially in Turkey. So if you want to take the first part of that.
Yeah, I think, start with why. And I think, we're trying to, as opposed to writing it in contracts, we do put some language in our contracts for the trade partners of, expectations that we're trying to do. But if we're always going back to the contract saying you have to do this because it's in your contract, I think we've lost. I think, showing the trades, showing the clients the value, saying, here's why we're doing lean, here's the value in it for you. Like Michael touched on, if our trades are embracing some of these principles, that they're going to be more productive and in the end make more money, and we're going to run safer jobs. So I think starting with that why and explaining it as opposed to kind of enforcing it goes a long way.
Right, and then the second part, how do we spread this out throughout the globe? As we talked about, we've got different cultures around the world, and you really need to understand your local culture, right? And it's not wouldn't be in the best interest for me as an outsider to say this is the way you need to handle it, this is the way you need to do it. It goes back to what Pat just said. Start with why is it important, right? Because that's a human trait of getting people to buy into things. If they understand why, they're more apt to actually embrace the idea of something different and want to work with it. So that to me is kind of the key for being able to start that dialogue. And in Turkey specifically, right? I think we found some really good success when we started bringing the trade partners and the clients into the room. Our team that's at the financial center there, we brought everyone in, and we started teaching them the same things that we were learning. Same thing with other clients. I won't name names, but we find that whenever we include people into the discussion and give them the opportunity to learn, more often than not, people are open to it. So I think that's a good place to start. Get them to understand the why they should do it, and then be inclusive. Include people, right? Make it to where they feel important because they're being asked to come because you value their opinion. And it's not about telling them what to do. It's about trying to learn from each other and say, hey, we want to learn how you do your business so we can actually work together more efficiently. And let's see if we have any other questions here. What are the different innovation tools you're using, such as sticky notes? Michael, you want to hit this on some of the different innovative type things?
So there's actually a ton of platforms that we've been using to answer in conjunction with the question above about working remote. Not only is there Microsoft Planner for tasks, but there's also what is called Miro, M-I-R-O, or Mural, M-U-R-A-L. Both of them are virtual whiteboards, as well as Microsoft has a whiteboard. They're allowing people to essentially do the pool plans virtually with virtual sticky notes, have virtual Kanban boards, virtual make-ready planning, all the stuff that we have in Last Planner system or in just the Lean toolbox. We're able to formulate it in a way to put it on a virtual platform. So there are two great platforms to use. Both of them are free to use. And both of them have helped since we started working remote. I know with our project teams, as well as our Lean team in the PA, NJ, and Mid-Atlantic region, we were on the Miro boards as soon as we heard about them, and we've been using them nonstop since then. So those are two great links and platforms to be using to use in the online atmosphere now.
All right, and that wraps it up for the questions that we had posted, I believe. And we're also over on our time. So in closing, I guess, really just thank you for letting us take an hour of your day and spending some time with us to kind of hopefully better understand, how we're trying to, as Patrick likes to say, steer that giant ocean liner ship that we have, right? Because Turner's a big company. How do we get them to turn, right, and shift directions? It's a slow, arduous process, but it's also about being agile enough to understand that little small wins add up over time, and those are the things that really start to make the ship change direction. And that's really what we continue to focus on. And hopefully you'll be able to apply some of this thinking in your day-to-day life. And if you have any questions, you'd like to talk a little bit deeper, please reach out to us. Lottie can get you our contact information, and we'd be happy to, field any other questions you might have. All right, with that, I guess we'll go ahead and sign off.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep. Thank you, everyone, for the time.